I want to talk to you about something very personal as it relates to this whole Epstein incident that has been recently brought back into the news. And that is something that I've been thinking about since the very beginning. But I finally just sat down and wrote it because it's personal, not in the sense that I am an Epstein victim, but a victim, or I should say a survivor. Um, and so I had started seeing some of the interviews of the victims more recently than before, and I was happy that they'd happened, that was happening. But I wish it had happened sooner, and I wish it would have happened in a somewhat different way, more sensitivity, less exploitation. But it is happening, and some folks are doing a very good job at it. But from a personal point of view, I wanted to discuss this, and so I wrote it on Substack. And I want you to pay attention and listen because maybe you will learn something, because these victims are more than just Epstein victims. I should say these people, these survivors are more than just Epstein's victims, which is what I write. What was stolen from Virginia Giuffre, I write it through her and from me. So I want to tell you how I started here. Again, I told you about that I thought it was important, and I told you how, from the beginning, what I had been thinking. But I want you to know that it's difficult for people to come out and to admit to these things and to relive them. So I know what it feels like to have your innocence stolen when you're of a young age. Being exploited as a young person changes you forever. In the blink of an eye, you go from child to adult, but without that, there's a gradual learning curve that most people get from childhood to adulthood. Survivors or people who have been victims do not get that gradual learning curve, that grace period. We are pushed off a cliff and we're told just to fly. So some of us survive and are visible to the world. But survival is not the same as wholeness. Some never make it to the other side. Look at all of these years. Look at what happened to Virginia Giuffre, how it ended, how her life ended. That is why her story sits heavy with me. Her name is not just the names of the men who hurt her, and not just the names of the men who hurt her, should be primary in the telling of these Jeffrey Epstein / Donald Trump / Ghislaine Maxwell stories. We like to believe that we understand survivors now. We have memorized, really, the vocabulary: grooming, gaslighting, victim blaming, all of the sort of buzz terms that you hear around it that people say, especially in the media, when, that's just how they write the story. We learn from the Catholic Church scandal, from Jerry Sandusky, from Larry Nassar, from the Boy Scouts. We are fluent in the mechanics of abuse, but fluency is not understanding. Because if we truly understood, we would not erase people like Virginia Giuffre from their own story. So last week, when President Donald Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One that Jeffrey Epstein stole young women from his spa staff at Mar-a-Lago, and he later confirmed that he meant Virginia Giuffre, who was 16 years old when Maxwell recruited her while she was working there. Ghislaine Maxwell, the very person that he's possibly going to pardon, most likely. His words reduced her to property. Reduced Virginia Giuffre to property, not a human being with a voice and a story of resistance. Support comes from Zbiotics. I have to tell you about this game-changing product that I use before a night out. It's called Pre-Alcohol. Zbiotics is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Now, here's the science, okay? When you drink alcohol turns into a toxic byproduct in your gut. That's what makes you feel lousy the next day, not dehydration. Zbiotics produces an enzyme that breaks that down. I first tried it before a long dinner with friends where I knew we'd have some cocktails, and the next morning I was up early, clear-headed, and back on my game. So with summer winding down, don't miss a day of it. Bring Zbiotics with you to the beach, camping, or your next road trip. Go to zbiotics.com/lemondrops for 15% off your first order. Code LEMONDROPS. It's backed by a 100% money back guarantee. That's zbiotics.com/lemondrops. The code LEMONDROPS for 15% off. And here is the thing about us, the survivors. Even when we speak out and fight to be heard, we are often treated as an afterthought. First comes the sensational, the private islands, the flight logs, the infamous Black Book, and on and on and on, all of the salacious, provocative, juicy terms and stories. First comes the spectacle, because spectacle drives ratings. It chases clicks. And in that rush, we are pushed to the background of our own narrative. And Virginia Giuffre was, and the other victims as well, survivors. That coverage did not tell you about the woman I knew from afar. There is a kinship among survivors. The woman, I should say, in 2010 risked her safety, her privacy, and her peace to tell the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, about Ghislaine Maxwell, and others. She founded Victims Refuse Silence, later relaunched as SOAR, Speak Out, Act, Reclaim. So no other survivor had to stand alone. She endured being dismissed, disbelieved, and attacked, yet continued to fight for decades. Virginia Giuffre fought publicly what most of us fight privately, and she persisted. When she died by suicide on April 24th or 25th, 2025, at the age of 41, at her farm in Neergaby, Western Australia, it made headlines, but only briefly then. Authorities found no signs of foul play, though her father publicly expressed doubt that it was suicide. Her family and attorney spoke about the emotional and the physical toll she bore over years of trauma and advocacy. This is how we treat survivors in this world. First, we amplify their pain, and then we move on. Now, I know that erasure. I have felt it. It is the quiet violence that we rarely name, the kind that tells us, even after we have survived, that our story was never really ours to tell. Justice is not just trial or conviction. It is the choice to remember not just the part that made the news, but someone's full life. Virginia Giuffre was more than a victim. She was a force. She was a witness, a thorn in the side of the powerful. She deserves to be remembered in full color, with her courage at the center, not as a footnote to men who thought they were untouchable. And maybe the question is not why we keep failing to do that, but maybe the question is why we keep letting it happen to us. We must do better. There are many people involved in this story, but who are also victims and survivors, some victims and not survivors, and they deserve to be heard and to have justice. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.